Hey everyone, my name is Joseph, and today I'll be talking about the issue of immigration and why we need immigration reform. I want you guys all to imagine about growing up in one place that you've known your whole life. You speak the language of that country, you know the culture of that country, you even went to school in that country. And one day you come to realize you were never a citizen at all of that country, and you were actually born in a whole different country, which makes you completely ineligible for multiple services and aids that home country that you call home might offer you. And this is a true statement for a lot of Americans. A lot of Americans are either undocumented or either on a program called DACA. Now, DACA is a program that is for undocumented immigrants, but in this case, they're different because they came to the United States when they were children. And so they have no recollection of their home country. All they've ever known is the United States. They usually have come here to these states when they were around 5, 6 years old. They started school here. They usually speak really good English. They got their first job here. They're basically American citizens without the title. Now, the reason why I push for immigration reform is because it's the ethical thing to do. It's what we stand for as a country, and it goes with our nation's values as well. Now, coming to the ethical standpoint and stuff, why is it ethically wrong that we don't push immigration reform? We know, as of right now, we know statistically that there is approximately, of the population, there's 3.3 undocumented immigrants in the country, not including DACA. That's just undocumented immigrants. But they make up almost 4.4 of the total United States workforce. And to put into comparison that, undocumented immigrants still pay taxes. You know how much? $11 billion in taxes. And there's a lot of myths of people saying, oh, well, they feed off government services such as food stamps and Social Security and unemployment. Matter of fact is, undocumented immigrants have no access to these services at all. They're paying into taxes, but they get nothing in return of it. And that's very unethical thing to do. Not only that, but when it comes to working conditions, a lot of it can be considered slave labor. A lot of employers have threatened undocumented immigrants. If they don't work for very long hours for very little pay, they threaten to deport them. And usually these undocumented workers will continue to work in those harsh conditions just for the fear of getting deported, and they have a family to feed. It's also what we need to also have immigration reform for the fact that as a country, we are all immigrants. And I want to make that more clear and in depth. We know that the real Americans would be Native Americans. They actually have history here on the continent of the Americas and stuff. As for me, including as a Latino, and as for Europeans, we are all just inhabitants that happen to come from another part of the continent that live here now. So it isn't right for us to decide who or who not does not stay in the country. Now you may be asking, we have laws though. We have laws and they need to be followed. And I totally agree with that. The problem comes with the process of those laws and how do we civilly make these immigrants come to the United States legally, because we want our laws respected. The problem with that is that the path to citizenship or permanent residency is either way too expensive, way too long, or way too difficult. Now, I'll give you the example of being difficult. To become a U.S. citizen, you have to be a permanent resident for almost 10 years before you become a full-born citizen. And before you can even become a permanent resident, you have to have your green card for many years before that. And for example, the citizenship test, one of the questions on there, most Americans might not even know. A lot of people, we know a big portion of our population doesn't even vote. An example of this, in the U.S. citizenship test, one of the questions could be, what is the name of your state's 2 senators? Do you know it? I didn't think so. Or what is your district's representative in the federal government? Or what is the governor's name? And simple questions like this, that we think are simple, not even common U.S. citizens can answer them. And I also want to make to a point that it's important for our country to have immigration reform because it's what our values stand for. If we go to New York, we see the Statue of Liberty. And what does the Statue of Liberty say? The Statue of Liberty is a symbol to the world, as in the world may not want you, but here in the United States, we value you as a human. We value your freedoms. We value your happiness. The Declaration of Independence itself says, we find these to be true, that everybody has a right to liberty, right to, and the pursuit of happiness, for example. And that's just how we, as a country, we stand. We are the beacon of the world, so we have to prove to the world that this is a safe place that people can come to. In conclusion, I believe immigration reform should be enacted because, one, we have no say when it comes to historical evidence, as in who are the true inhabitants of this continent. Two, even current American citizens wouldn't even be able to pass current U.S. citizenship test. And three, it's unethical for us to have these people keep working in these conditions when we benefit so much from them, but we give back very little for them. Thank you for your time.